What's up guys, Kevin Goetz here from Mute Profit, helping you achieve musical success. So, today we're talking about how to get started recording your own music from home on a budget. So let's say you're broke, okay? You literally have no money, you don't have a job, like you're a high school student or something, I don't know. You're gonna have problems, you are. There are some solutions. You can get a job. You can hoard allowance, you can sell some stuff, you can look up one of those, how to make $200 a day on Shopify, eBay flipping kind of bullshit. It's whatever. There are some easy ways to generate, quick cash. However, I will also provide you solutions. So I'm going to assume like a middle ground where you have just the tiniest bit of disposable income, like let's say you pull in an extra $200 a month, okay? So maybe you can set that aside for 2 months and you'll be able to do what we're talking about here. But, I'm going to try to give you like a range of budget selections, and this is all going to be as cheap as it can possibly be without sacrificing the bare minimum of quality. So if you're just starting out and you want to start recording your own music, the good news is that free software is spectacular. So in terms of software, I would recommend using the DAW Reaper. Your DAW is a digital audio workstation, so that's anything like Reaper or Pro Tools or Logic or Cubase, or I think those are the major ones. And the reason I recommend Reaper is that, to the best of my knowledge, which I've been using Reaper for a little over 6 years, I think. So I don't have too much experience with other program options, but to the best of my knowledge, it is still true that Reaper has by far the best free functionality, and is in fact the only one that is free to use in the first place. I mean, technically you should buy like a $40 license at some point, because it is technically not free, but they do give you an unlimited free trial for as long as you want. And in my opinion, Reaper has the best stock EQ plugin, stock compressor, stock reverb, delay, whatever, all the free plugins out of any DAW. And I'm not the only one with that opinion. If I remember right, Glenn Fricker from Spectre Sound Studios is still recommending that people download the free plugins of Reaper if you're on a budget. It's just the best you're going to get. The other reason that I'm recommending you use Reaper is that I use Reaper, hashtag not sponsored, and so in all of my tutorials that I'm going to be posting on this channel, audio engineering tutorials come out every Tuesday, by the way. I'm going to be using Reaper. So if you want like the easiest overlap, because sometimes I will recommend using a stock preset in Reaper, because their presets are actually really damn good sometimes. So yeah, that helps you translate and get the best return on investment for watching my particular videos. So with Reaper, and I'm assuming because of my audience that you're like into metal, more so metal and rock, and Reaper in particular, I mean there's no difference with genre, but so the next thing I'm going to talk about is drums and is guitars, because everyone cares about those things. With drums, I'm not aware of any good free drum plugins. If anyone knows of some, please let me know in the comments, and I will evaluate, and I'll pin any discussions we have that maybe pertain to this. So check the comments if you're watching this like a year in the future, because something may have come up. So the cheapest one that I'm aware of is Easy Drummer. The cheapest good one, I should say, that doesn't have some crippling flaw. And the stock Easy Drummer sounds are not great. The expansions to it are fairly cheap as well. I've heard good things about Drum Kit from Hell and Metal Foundry. Is that right? I don't remember if that's a Easy Drummer plugin or not. That being said, my solution when I was starting out and was entirely literally broke is there are free drum samples you can download. And I don't believe it's stock with Reaper, but it is free. Drum Replacer, as is REA placer, as in Reaper REA. It's a Reaper plugin that allows you to sample replace drums, and there are plenty of free drum samples you can get that will sound quite good. It's been a number of years, and I can't promise that the same ones that I use are still available. If not, you might be able to persuade me to put the ones that I'm using on Dropbox or something and leave a public link, assuming there is enough demand for just people cannot find good free drum samples anymore. Because as I said, I'm genuinely not aware, because I've been using what I've been using for so long, I've had no need to look for anything more than that. Now, with that being said, next thing I want to focus on is guitars. And I have, you know, Tone Forge, the Jason Richardson expansion, I think is the most modern metal tone that a lot of people are drooling over. And honestly, I get better results from like 6, 7, 8-year-old free software. What I prefer the most for guitars, and I will do another video on how to set these up to get really sick metal tones. I prefer Solo C and Legion. Both of these are by a company, it's spelled Lepou. You should, I believe his blog is still up and you can download them for free from there. So Solo C is the booster. I use that in place of like a Tube Screamer plugin, which we will also get into in another video. And Legion is the main amp. And for clean sounds, I like Lex Tack, which is another by the same guy. You can download all of these on his website for free. I will leave a link in the description, but make sure that you finish watching this video first so you can grab everything all at once, because you don't want to be jumping all over the internet, not sure where to go next. And again, I know that I'm kind of like glazing over a lot of things. This is just an overview. I will do a dedicated video for each of these things. For anyone who doesn't understand, be sure to subscribe, check back every Tuesday. Or, you know, assuming this video is being watched 6 months from now, just check out the playlist, because I've probably already uploaded whatever video I'm talking about. So for cab impulses, my preference is Red Wires impulses. That's Red Wires with a Z, all one word. Last I checked, there's only one selection of free impulses. And I believe they are Marshall V30s, probably. There's some kind of Marshall that they're modeled off of. And they are by far the best sounding and most tweakable impulses that I have personally worked with. I know some newer things have come out recently, and I like what I know, okay? These plugins have worked for me for so many years that I have yet to be able to get a better sound out of even something modern, because ultimately that's the thing. It doesn't matter how much you paid for gear or how new the gear is, it matters how well you know how to use it. Pretty much the only difference between free plugins and really expensive plugins is how much time it takes to get it working the way you want it to work. Right, it is obviously implied when I'm talking about guitars, because I've talked about software, that I'm talking about going DI, direct input, rather than putting a microphone in front of an amp, which is going to drive up your cost a lot, plus it's just a lot harder to get right for a lot of beginners. I've gone that route, and honestly, software has gotten so sophisticated that some of the only people who are telling you that you cannot get a good sound out of anything but a tube amp are people who don't really want to adapt to software, I'm sorry to say. You absolutely can get very, very professional guitar tones out of literally just free 8-year-old software. So in order to run your guitars DI, and obviously to record vocals, which we're going to talk about, you need some kind of USB interface. My recommendation is the Scarlett 2i2. This is a product by Focusrite. They may have put out an updated version. I think it's the Scarlett... I don't know. I'm honestly not sure. Out of all the $100 price range interfaces, the Scarlett is by far the best, and sub $100 you're not likely to get very good quality. I have a friend who went with a $60 like Behringer mixer. I cannot imagine trying to DI guitars using that. I think that the gain leveling would be a nightmare, but she uses it for vocals and it works well, so more power to her, I guess. So as of right now, we are looking at spending, I think the intro Easy Drummer price is $80, and we've spent $100 on our interface. And we have the capability right now to record all the mainline instruments in a metal band. We're going to look at bass as well. Bass is mostly your ability to EQ, compress, which I'll do plenty of tutorials on. However, there's a free plugin, TSE... No, not that. It's called NoAmp, I think it's modeled after an actual piece of hardware, if I remember right, but no amp. It is a free VST that you can use to distort the bass, which you want to do if you want like a heavy grit tone. And I don't really have an opinion on the best free bass cab simulator. There are a lot of good ones. Pretty much just pick something and go with what sounds good to you. So why have we cut costs so much? What are we saving for? Because I mentioned you want a budget of like $400. Well, unfortunately, this budget is not allocating for a computer. I'm assuming that you have a computer with at least a decent processor. If not, there are workarounds. What you can do is record as much as your processor can handle, and then if you have too many tracks going, you render some of them to what are called stem tracks, which I will talk about in another video. But it is incredibly basic, and you probably can figure it out just by right-clicking whatever it is that you want to render and selecting render stem tracks. And what that does is it prints all the effects that you currently have on your track to a new track. So it carries the EQ over, for instance, and then the EQ is there are no effects on this new stem, and then it mutes the original. So however much processing power all the effects we're taking up is now free. So you're better off if you have a computer with a really good processor. If not, as I just explained, there are some workarounds. The remaining $200 in your budget is going to go to the ability to record vocals, because what you want, one, you can cut corners and go with a dynamic microphone, like a Shure SM58. Those do absolutely work for studio vocals. I know they're designed as a live vocal mic. You can get respectable results out of it. You can, okay? There are people who say, oh no, that's garbage. Yeah, compared to like a really good condenser mic or something, yeah, it's not great. However, you're on a budget. Do the best you can with what you can afford. It's better to make something to the best of your ability than to not do it at all. Now, if you want to go the extra mile, you can get a condenser mic like the Audio-Technica 2020 or the Sterling ST51. Both of those are great choices. I think the ST51 is a little bit better for singing as opposed to the AT2020, which I am currently using on my voice. You can get like a condenser mic with a pattern, right? And the reason I'm recommending these models, a condenser mic typically will pick up your entire stupid room, okay? It's very noisy, it's very roomy, it's very echoey. These mics try to reduce that to the best of their ability. Sometimes they fail miserably. Sometimes they work quite well. All depends. But they sound way, way prettier in studio applications, assuming you have a half-decent pair of headphones that don't, and your singer's not like blaring it so loud that it's actually getting picked up by the mic in front of them, which has happened. Don't do that. You're gonna hurt your ears. Anyway, so, condenser mic. Yes, it reduces room noise. Not completely, though. So what you can do is also buy, let me look at the SE reflection filter. Reflection is spelled, instead of a CT, it's an X. And what that does is it tries to isolate your microphone so that when your singer gets loud, yes, it's bouncing off the walls, there is an echo within the room, but the microphone itself is not picking that up. And room treatment is a whole stupid issue on its own. Acoustic foam is not too expensive. I think I paid like $90 for like 24 panels, which I would put, you know, probably 4 over the singer's head, 4 on the wall across. So if the mic is here, that wall should have foam on it so that it's like to the singer's back. But my room is already fairly dull because when I moved in, I treated it for this to the best of my ability. So there's like a couch and bookshelves everywhere, dresser, chair behind the camera. There's another desk, shelf, you can see. Try to cover as much of the wall space as possible with furniture, and if possible, if it's in your bedroom, even better, your bed will actually absorb a lot of shit. So that's how you can kind of get around the need to pay a lot for room treatment, is just to make good use of your room. Do not have just a big open empty room, and that'll solve a number of issues that people tend to struggle with. But yeah, so those are the basics. And then you want to look into like a monitoring situation. I did most of my early mixes with a $100 pair of Logitech speakers hooked up to some kind of subwoofer. I honestly cannot for the life of me recall what the model was, but I'm sure whatever the entry-level Logitech $100 desktop speakers with a subwoofer is what that is, or is comparable. Now I'm using JBL, some kind of actual monitors that are actually legit, which are quite good. I would recommend any cost in their product line, so like their entry-level stuff all the way up to their pro line stuff is quite nice. This is the one area where if you have any extra income, if you can stretch your budget anywhere, that is where you should go first. I cannot tell you what a difference it made for me to switch from desktop speakers to actual studio monitors, okay? People say that, but people cannot convey it well enough. It is literally impossible to exaggerate how incredible the difference is. I cannot express this enough. And that's also part of my philosophy, is that it doesn't matter how bad your gear is, because if you get good enough at mixing, and that requires getting good enough with your hearing, which means being able to hear it in the first place through actual good speakers, you can get around most any handicap with skillful use of EQ. And before someone says that all EQ ruins sounds or whatever, Colin Richardson, CLA, you lose the argument. There are really good engineers who have abused the shit out of EQ because they know that it can work quite well. Okay, so I've been recording videos for about an hour straight and I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, so I'm gonna stop. Is there anything else that I have missed? I don't think so. Oh, yeah, no, that is important. So I will do a dedicated tutorial on how to program drums, because I know I brought up Easy Drummer. For now, all you need to know right now is that Guitar Pro, or again, since we're assuming you're broke, Tux Guitar, which is the free version, you can go in and write drum parts. Yeah, you can look up like the MIDI numbers. You just select percussion track and write the drums, and then export that as MIDI and place that MIDI track. There's still a forum post online somewhere about how to set up Easy Drummer in Reaper. So you just export the MIDI and run that into Easy Drummer, and bam, you got yourself some drums. But what I was gonna say is that if you are someone who wants a good selection of keyboards, what you should do is download FL Studio, which is technically another digital audio workstation, I know, but it comes with an incredible library of free synths. Citrus in particular is the one that I used the most when I was starting out. And if you want to take it one step further, if you're especially interested in like orchestral sounds, Google orchestral sound fonts. And I think it's like 804 plus sound fonts is the name of this, I think. If any of these have gone down, let me know and I will, because I've been considering putting up my own collection of sound fonts because I've modified so many of these so heavily. But yeah, so there's Citrus, which is built into FL Studio, and then you can install these orchestral sound fonts and run those through FL Studio as well. And then you do the same thing. You export a MIDI file from Tux Guitar, feed that into FL Studio, and then export it again as the synths that you want. Alright, so before I permanently lose the ability to speak, I have new audio engineering videos coming out every Tuesday, and something musical success related coming out every single day, whether it be marketing or songwriting or how to play guitar better, whatever. It's all things that will help you achieve musical success. So, subscribe if you're interested. If not, just, be sure to check out every week for this one category, and I will hopefully see you in the next video.